So the next theme of Neptune in Pisces is the rise of moral relativism. And so we saw this so much with the idea of my truth and your truth rather than the truth. And this is the trademark Piscean characteristic of moral subjectivity or moral relativism, as I mentioned earlier about what Pisces does, is this grayness of the understanding of ethics. So instead of principles to live by, we see this blending of principles into vague and very contradictory belief systems. So I believe that there is an important value in seeing the grayness of ethical questions about things. And that's how Pisces can elevate our understanding of morality and to be able to incorporate complexity and nuance rather than just the black and white, pure right or wrong look at how the world it works. That's a fundamentalist way of seeing morality. That's what a fundamentalist religion does. It's either right or wrong, no exceptions. But there's a healthy way, and so that we don't want to be black and white. We want to see grayness and complexity and nuance. That is what a positive moral relativity is. But what the moral relativity that we saw emerge was the unhealthy, the hypocritical and selective morality. And I think this is epitomized by the woke identity politics. And essentially what woke is identity politics, that you are inseparable from your physical characteristics, and that determines your behavior essentially. And so in this kind of paradigm, right and wrong thinking or right and wrong behavior is defined by immutable physical characteristics instead of the actual behavior itself. So who did the behavior superseded the behavior. And so what this did is that morality became extremely confused and politicized and incredibly complicated from a delusional way, in a very delusional way. And so just as a quick example, this kind of moral relativism says that it's okay to discriminate against a majority group, but it's not okay to discriminate against a minority group. So that is one of their definitions. So if I went to China, I would be a minority. I can discriminate against Chinese people because they're the majority. And they couldn't discriminate against me because I'm the minority. But the fundamental moral question and what the morally relativistic problem is that they're concentrating on who is doing the discrimination. Rather, it should be about the act of the discrimination itself and about the context of the situation, not about the physical characteristics of the person. So morality took on this very unhealthy Piscean nebulousness, this quality of this morphing and contradictory, eventually lost and completely impractical quality, and unable to define a solid workable paradigm of what is right or wrong. But the elevated understanding of moral subjectivity is that context and intention matters. Morality is gray, but in a very subtle and intricate way. And it's not based on the immutable characteristics, the physical characteristics of a person's identity. But what we saw is Neptune attempting to create this complete and deep longing for a total fulfillment in moral relativism. And what it did was dissolve the Western world's understanding of what morality is. It's been lost and discarded and completely confused in a very intense way. And it's gotten to the point that it's become very fundamentalist. The idea of physical characteristics becoming the delineation of the moral relativism is that physical characteristics determine whether something is right or wrong. And it's become fundamentalist because you have to accept that, or you're going to be canceled, or you can't critique it, or you're going to lose your job. And so, ironically, it's taken on that unhealthy Sagittarian quality, the other sign ruled by Jupiter, of fundamentalist thinking about everything is relative. So it's become very confused, and we've seen that during this era really come into prominence. And so what Neptune was doing in Pisces was it was seeking total fulfillment from it seeks total fulfillment from certain aspects of a sign. And in this was seeking total fulfillment from the grayness of morality, to the point that morality dissolved in meaning, and it became shrouded in ever-changing and morphing understanding of what is right and wrong, and to the point where people are asking, how did we even get to this point? And I criticize a lot of the left wokeism, but you can really see it from all sides of the political spectrum. How did we get to this point of the confusion about what is even right and wrong on a basic societal level? And this is the key feature of that Neptune does. It gives the craving of an experience in a sign in such a deep and fulfilling way. But in the process, that experience becomes dissolved and it loses all previous meanings. And things become confused and illusions are created in that confusion. And the result is dissatisfaction. That's another important quality that is often attributed to Neptune, because we can't have complete fulfillment and achieve complete and deep meaning in a single part of life, in a single sign or a single experience. And we need all of the signs in balance. And Neptune really pushes fulfillment in one kind of experience. And in that is all of the change that Neptune is initiating, and all the redefinitions make fulfillment essentially impossible. And what we're going to see in the next era of Neptune in Aries is going to be more, in regards to morality, is going to be about might makes right. And we already can kind of see that in our world nowadays, even for the past centuries. But, you know, people who have the gold make the rules, you know, the golden rule. And what this is saying is that when Neptune enters into Aries, there's going to be the ability for the people wanting deep longing and seeking deep fulfillment through the use of force, and just say, when the rubber hits the road, I have a certain power and I achieve meaning through the raw power that I have. And this isn't entirely negative. It's usually interpreted as entirely negative because we think about how governments essentially do that, or large powerful institutions or armies. But it's this moving away from the nebulous and ever-changing ideals and that subjectivity into the era of this emphasis on the exertion of power regardless of one's ideas of moral compass or one's moral compass. The desire to simply do something because you have the power to do it. And that could lead to coercion, where coercion doesn't matter anymore. At the end of the day, you have a certain power, and are you going to use it or not? It doesn't matter about the ideas and about the ideals that are being created, like Neptune and Pisces. But we're going to dive much more into that kind of might means right, raw power in the following videos on Neptune and Aries.